in the day-to-day of a pluralist society, I don't think there needs to be any tension between saying, I respect pluralism, but I also want to, change people's minds on issues where I think I'm right? And, just as a Democrat would want a Republican to become a Democrat without wanting, the two-party system to cease to exist, so too a Catholic could want their atheist friend to become a Catholic without wanting to return to sort of a pre-Vatican II conception of the Catholic Church's role in society. So in terms of sort of everyday life for a religious believer, I don't think there has to be any kind of tension. But there is another sense, sort of on a deeper, long-term cultural level, where the claims that religion makes are a little more profound than the claims that the Republican National Committee makes, I hope. And over time, religions that take those claims seriously, religious believers who take those claims seriously, will tend to want more than pluralism. And this can, in its darkest form, this can lead to truly terrible places like, the Islamic State, right? But the Islamic State is itself partially a reaction to, I think, a feeling in Western modernity that, nothing seems to matter. So you get these sort of drifting young men who, again, are attracted by the ability to live out horrifying fantasies of violence, but are also attracted seemingly by the idea of a situation or a society that offers an absolute form of meaning. So that's sort of the sort of darkest portrayal of where that tendency in religion goes. But just to use your example of, that I think I've heard Christians cite a lot in this context, that we've sort of returned to a period like the Roman Empire, right, where Christianity is one faith among many, and that that offers all kinds of opportunities that were available to the early Christians, and they made the most of them, and so on. But the story that Christians tell about the early Roman Empire is a story of conversion. It's not a story of pluralism as a permanent state of affairs. It's a story of the blood of the martyrs as the seed of a church that went on to build Christendom. And I don't know if that idea, maybe that idea disappears with pluralism, but I think it's an idea that is inherent in a lot of serious religious faith, and not just Christianity. It's inherent in Islam. Any kind of faith that's rooted in a missionary impulse is going to want a conversion of culture in the long run. So again, in the society we're living in right now, that's a long-term issue, and I spend a lot of time reassuring my liberal friends that Christian fundamentalism isn't a threat to the American order, and so on. So I don't want to push this point too far, because then they'll throw it back in my face and say, see, it is a threat. But I do think that there are sort of tensions there between what pluralism asks of us and what a lot of Christians going back to the earliest centuries of the faith have thought that the New Testament asks of them, which is to go and make disciples of all nations, and which would mean making disciples of as many people as possible within this nation, which would have inevitably transformative effects that would transform pluralism as well.
I don't think if we had more time, we'd disagree very much.
Probably not.
I can agree with much of what you say, maybe not some of the details, but I think a strong affirmation of faith in no way means a contradiction to pluralism. On the contrary, it flourishes under pluralism.